showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime! Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back into the fastest show in sports. I am the host and ringmaster, Ed Berliner. He is the co-host and the second ringmaster, if you will, from Washington Post, New York Times, ESPN, all these other days and all these other places, meaning just like him, neither of us can hold a job, Mike Wise. That's the way it goes,
Good morning,
brother.
Eduardo. Good
How are you, man?
morning.
Good morning. Morning from Panama.
Right.
What is the beauty of waking up in Panama every morning? What is the best part about getting up in Panama every morning?
Oh, for me, it's of course getting up at 6 a.m. and catering to the wonderful children that grace my life. 7-year-old Margot, 10-year-old Elliot, and 14-year-old Oliver, who I literally have to beat with a rubber hose to get out of bed in the morning. And but I do, I'll put on like Stevie Wonder, a little Stevie Wonder in the morning. I'll put on a little James Taylor, and it'll be all my favorite music. And they hate it so much that they'll get up to turn it off.
Yes, but
So
look at
that's
it
about
this
it.
way. The fact that you're giving them all this great music, as they get older, they will learn to appreciate it. And there will be times when they will look back on the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s as the great era of music that it was, and you will have succeeded in keeping your children away from the real crap music that is out there today. Get off my lawn.
Nice
the
nice
way it
intro
works.
for two white guys that claim to be liberal, but each week get pounded by people that think because we're angry, because we actually have conversations about race,
Because
that
we
somehow
tell
we're not
the
allowed
truth.
to.
We tell
We
the
tell the
truth,
truth.
Mike.
Yeah, if we ever want to if we want to rename this show ever, it's going to be called Red, White, and Truth.
I mean, that's not a bad idea sometimes. I mean, look, that's really what it is. All we're
Yeah.
doing is speaking the truth. And just because we're a couple of white
Yeah.
guys over the age of 40 doesn't mean we know anything. Guess what? 2 white guys over the age of 40 or 50 means we know more than you do. We do. We've been there. We've experienced it. We've had the moments happen. We've had things happen. We know more than you. And that's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
Mike, we're inviting them in. Come in and learn with us. Be part of it.
Yes.
Learn with the 2 white guys, okay? We'll rename the
Yes.
show 2 White Guys Who Know Nothing. All right. That's okay. We'll know a little something. Here
You
we
know
go.
what? Whoa!
Go,
You may hit on something there. But go ahead.
No, it's all right. We can talk about it. No, let's get rolling here. We got, as usual, a long
right.
way to go and a short time to get there. And there it is, for all the world to see. Bill Belichick takes the sideline as the head coach of the University of North Carolina. It's a sold-out stadium. Everybody's excited. Michael Jordan is there. And the best part about this is the post-game, Mike, because all of those reporters in North Carolina are now learning what those of us who covered the New England Patriots for years have learned. Bill will never tell you anything of substance in the post-game press conference.
We competitively, but then just couldn't sustain it. So obviously we have a lot of work to do. We need to do a better job all the way around, coaching, playing, all 3 phases of the game. Just wasn't up to what it needs to be, and I know we're a lot better than that. So we'll need to work on those things and show it on Saturday and quick turnaround. But give TCU credit; they came in and did a good job, and they were clearly the better team tonight. They deserved to win, and they did it decisively. Anytime you give up 2 turnovers or touchdowns offensively, that's not good. We gave up several long plays on defense, where they gained a lot of yards on one play. So just too many of those. There wasn't any one thing. It was a combination of multiple things. Too many 3-and-outs, too many long plays on defense, and then 2 turnovers. Well, we had 3 turnovers, but 2 turnovers, touchdowns. You can't overcome that.
The game itself was stunningly boring. If we go back and have to look at it, just the game itself, what happened on that field was as boring as hell. But that post-game press conference, Mike, that's Belichick. That's exactly who he is. You could have, and I swear I took time and I tried to find one of the old press conferences from the Patriots days. And I wish I could have found one, because I know that I would have played it side by side and it would have been exactly the same thing. You get nothing from Belichick, man. That's the beauty of this guy, Mike.
Yeah, the only sad part last night was with the TCU coach, Sonny Dykes, on the way out of the stadium, Jordan Hudson, Bill's girlfriend, basically yelled at him and goes, "Hey, Sonny, call me when you're this many." I'm kidding. But yeah, it was a beatdown. Ed, I don't think I've seen somebody get beat like that since, like, I don't know, the other side had tire irons. I mean, the North Carolina Tar Heels were the modern day equivalent of the Minutemen. All right, that's all they lasted, a minute.
But
oh my God, well, what the heck
cares?
was it? I know, but it's prime time. It's just whatever.
Well, no,
It is what it is. But
who cares? Belichick has got a team there that has 70, count them, 70 new players. He's basically starting with all rookies. He's in a program that has never been known, even in the slightest sense, for football. It's a basketball school, always has been, always will be. They've never had any luck whatsoever in football. Belichick comes in, brings his little girlfriend with him. They sell out every single game. They're rolling in the cash right now. They're getting the ACC money on top of it. And Bill doesn't care, because he knew he was going to lose this badly. Everything is upside for him from here. North Carolina fans should be shaking his hand saying, "Thank you. You put us on prime time, for crying out loud. Do whatever you want to do, man. So we'll win a few games. Big deal. Have fun."
But you know what? He could go maybe 5-6 or 4-7, for a year or two. For a year or two, but there's a professional stain if Bill can't get this turned around in some way. But you have to have a 10-win season if you're Belichick. It's Bill Belichick. Are you going to go down in history as the coach who essentially wanted to coach so badly, and you thought in your head of heads believed it was all about the Patriot system, and you have to find out it was really about Tom Brady? Oh my God, that would be a wreck.
Mike, he can't lose. He comes in here in a program that basically is at the bottom. It's never been lower. So if he wins a couple of games, that's fine. If a couple of years he builds the program up and then he decides to leave, which is what I think he's going to do anyway. I think Bill Belichick lasts 2 seasons in North Carolina. He builds it up. Wow. He brings in a younger coaching staff. Somebody else takes over. And then Belichick goes back to the NFL because he still wants to beat Don Shula's record as the winningest coach in the NFL. And he's only got maybe 4 or 5 years left before he gets too old and he can't do it anymore.
He's already in his 70s. He's going to die. He's going to be dead. He's going to be, this is a toes-up deal right now, okay? He's going to coach till he dies. He's going to be like George Allen when he went to coach with Long Beach State after all those years in Washington and thinking that he could rekindle something, and his players soaked him with a Gatorade bath after he'd won a bowl game, and he died from pneumonia. Dead.
I know,
Dead.
but Belichick can't lose in this. So he goes to college.
Yeah, you can.
And he stinks the joint up. He's still one of the winningest coaches in NFL history. Period. End of story. That's all that counts.
Jordan's going to leave him for an undergrad. He's going to lose.
Jordan may leave him for an undergrad, but that's if she doesn't get written into the will, which she may be already. And to your point, and to your point though about Tom Brady and all that. Look, it's fair to say that Belichick would not be the coach he is right now if he didn't have Tom Brady. Without Tom Brady, and here's the graphic for those of you watching on YouTube. Without Brady, he's 83 and 104. With Brady, 249 and 75. But Mike, that's also the fact that he was a head coach of the Cleveland Browns who stunk the joint up when he was there. I mean, he had a terrible franchise to work with at that point. And pre-Brady, he was 5 and 11. And what's wrong with the fact that he made more, that he got more wins with Tom Brady? Great coaches come along and they get great players. Look, if it wasn't for Joe Montana, Bill Walsh wouldn't have been one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. If it wasn't for Dan Marino, Don Shula wouldn't have been the winningest coach in NFL history. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Bill Walsh won a Super Bowl without Joe Montana. He won them with Steve Young. No, actually, you know what? Take that back. I think George Seifert got that Super Bowl. I think Bill had retired. But you know what this is doing? You know what this is all doing? This is probably telling people that Joe Gibbs might be the greatest coach in NFL history. Do you know any other coach that won three different Super Bowls with different starting quarterbacks?
Maybe it's fair.
I mean that he took players and he turned them into something. And you know what? Bill's still a great defensive coach. I'm not going to bet him, even though 48 points was, I've never seen.
He's got nobody to work with.
He's
got all rookies. He may as well put the diapers on these kids and work them.
Yeah. Anyway, anybody that didn't like Bill, this is a great comeuppance
but there's
for
nothing,
him.
But
I think at some point, it doesn't matter how much you make or how famous you are, Ed. If there's a professional stain on your after you're called the greatest NFL coach of all time, I don't know.
NFL. It has nothing to do with college. And not only that, look, I tell you and I will definitely disagree with this. I don't think that the argument even holds any water whatsoever. When people come up and say, well, without Tom Brady, he never would have won Super Bowls. Well, if my grandmother would have had wheels, she would have been a wagon. So guess what? I mean, this stuff just happens. You do get these great players that are either drafted or dropped in your midst, and you make the best of what you have. That's what Belichick did. And the fact that he had Brady, and he ran the offense and the defense and forged a team around Brady and what he had, he still is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history because he had Tom Brady. So saying that if he wouldn't have had Tom Brady, he wouldn't have won, that's just a lazy argument. Come on.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling kind of lazy this morning. Go ahead. We can move on to the next topic.
That's what happens when you oversleep. This one, and here we go, on to the next one here. We have the story of the Polish CEO, the hat, the kid, the U.S. Open, and quite frankly, people who need to get a life.
Polish millionaire is speaking out today after facing backlash for stealing a hat from a child at the U.S. Open this week, and it wasn't to apologize. Yikes. This happened after a match when tennis star Kamil Myszak was signing autographs after his win. He took off his hat to give to the boy, but that man snatches it away and takes off with it. After facing criticism online, the man responded by saying, quote, "If you were faster, you would have it," and threatened legal action for those criticizing him. But Myszak met up with the boy afterwards and gave him another hat to make up for it. I don't know what that man can do to make up for his actions, but, he's got to live with it.
Yeah.
Mike, this is where it gets absolutely steamingly ridiculous here. People have got to just back off. And we've talked about this before, people who knee-jerk on this nonsense. Because if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, and you should, by the way, and subscribe as a matter of fact, here's just a small example of some of the stuff that wound up on social media. People and these idiots, these morons, these knuckleheads out there who just create these nickel and dime TikTok videos and such. Guy calling him the CEO hat snatcher, the hat snatcher CEO. The CEO begs with a groveling apology, which is all just nonsense. And then on top of all this, not only does that hit, but then these memes hit. where allegedly the guy says, and KABC, the station in Los Angeles that you just heard, that's the station that used this information falsely, because they claim that the guy said, if you were faster, you would have had it. Yes, I took it. I did it quickly. Life is first come, first served. Basically, they took that information and stuck that in their report. It's a lie. It never happened. This is AI bullshit. Because then the guy had to come out and face this again with, here it is. If you were faster, you would have it. I remind you that insulting a public figure is subject to legal liability. The guy has to then come out. His reputation's been ruined. He's got to issue this statement, which says, I want to apologize. I made a grave mistake. It wasn't my intention. I want to make it clear, neither I, my wife, nor my sons commented on this situation on social media or any website. Mike, the guy basically lays himself out. It's a hat. It's a hat. It's a lousy hat that has a signature of a guy on it, and 100 years from now it won't mean anything. People, back down for Christ's sake. This is ridiculous. Stop with the ridiculous knee-jerking. It's just a hat! A hat!
You know, Ed, if you cared as much about this show as you did lambasting the people who put out these memes, we'd have 20 sponsors. What the hell? I mean, okay, I will disagree. I think that if someone's giving something to a kid and you snatch it, it looks bad.
Which
the other part of it,
We don't know that he was giving it to the kid. He signed it and he put his hand. Now wait a minute.
Come on, Ed. You can see from the video that the Polish guy. Now the only thing I'll give him credit for, he's a Pole. The tennis player is a Pole,
and that's why he was there.
It's like Polska. Yeah, I mean, there's a connection there. But still, come on, it was for the kid. Okay, it's for the kid.
Everybody gets all upset
and the other stuff, nobody.
Oh, the poor kid doesn't
Nobody should.
get his hat. Oh,
nobody
come on.
Nobody should be doxxed. Nobody should be doxxed because of that. But still, okay, Ed, that's fine. All right, Ed, but here's the deal. You go to the U.S. Open, be happy you got a ticket. You know how much tickets cost there? It cost a lot. I was given tickets to a Sampras Agassi semifinal match one night. It was amazing. I looked later at the price of those tickets. It was like, I don't know, it was like a $995 ticket. And that was face value. That was face value. They were going for $3,000. So the bottom line is, just be happy you're at the U.S. Open. And if you're a Pole CO, if you're a millionaire, it's for the kids, Ed. It's for the kids.
But the problem with it is, Mike, these social media knuckleheads and nitwits are out here, and they destroy the guy's life. So he grabbed a hat. His company has taken it on the chin here all of a sudden because it's getting negative reviews. He's losing business, all because of a freaking hat at a tennis. And not only that, Mike, but this comes down to something you and I have talked about a lot. That TV station used that report, and they used inaccurate, fake, phony, bullshit information to basically shame this guy. They didn't even bother to check what they did. That's the biggest problem here.
Well, okay, that's fine. The journalism part of it, there is no broadcaster. I mean, come on. Journalism, we could say the old man yelling at the sea all day. The truth is there's a guy online. There was a guy online that wrote, I'd never heard of him, Benny Johnson. Okay. Benny Johnson. I think he lives in Tampa now.
Don't know.
This guy, Benny Johnson, I don't know. It was one of those things where it showed up on my feed. Why? I don't know. And he's some right-wing influencer that's got 3 million followers. He does a couple of Instagrams. He does a couple of YouTube. He's like us, except he just lies and makes up shit. And so essentially the guy, you find out that the guy was, excuse me, the guy had been, I think, fired for plagiarizing twice in his career. suspended a couple other times. I mean, no credibility whatsoever. And he sort of got, and some reason he found a revenue stream of people who didn't care if he lied or not, as long as
Yeah,
they
well, that's it.
believed that he might. That if someone believes you might be right now, oh my God, you can make money. It
Well,
doesn't, you don't even, it's
that's
crazy.
that's the idiotic knucklehead of social media and the way it's become. Somebody went
Yeah.
out there and basically posted a lie to get nothing more than clicks. It got picked up on various social media pages, and then a supposedly reputable television station, a network affiliate, gets on there.
Wow.
They do the story and they shame the guy. I went on the YouTube page of that TV station and I wrote a comment on it. I said, "So are you guys going to now back up and really admit that you lied, that you used material you never checked, that you went out there and made the guy's life miserable? And it's all because it's a hat and it's a kid." If it wasn't a kid, nobody would have said anything. And not only that, but the kid then got the player to come back, gave him a hat, gave him everything. The kid's fine. Just leave it alone, Mike. But the journalism side of this thing is something we've been talking about for a long time now, because we still have so many people, whether it's Pat McAfee on ESPN or anybody else, they just throw this shit out there because they know that the idiots out there are going to fall for it. Stop being a sucker.
Well, the big thing is there's no repercussions. There's no repercussion. You know, when I was at the New York Times, we had a reporter. I don't know if you remember the name, Jason Blair.
Yeah,
Jason
oh yeah, I
Blair
remember the
was
story.
Jason Blair was a little con artist. He'd been advanced through the ranks because essentially there was a genuine feeling that we didn't have enough young people of color going through the ranks of the New York Times, and it was true, we didn't. Unfortunately, instead of taking anybody else that was really talented who happened to be black, who happened to be East Indian, who happened to be Asian, they took Jason Blair, and he was elevated wrongly. He ended up becoming this major plagiarist. It made the New York Times look awful. And I went to a all hands on deck meeting where the whole paper rented out a theater in Times Square, and we all met there. And I think I was even quoted on the news afterward, because nobody else would talk to the media. And all of a sudden, I saw the Klieg lights, and I was like, "Hey, I get to be a star, the little sports guy." But so I was a fame whore at the time. Now I'm just chasing a sponsorship, and so essentially,
Keep chasing, buddy.
I just remember thinking that this guy will never work again. Well, the thing nowadays, this guy was a lightweight compared to this Benny Johnson clown. You can't get shamed or canceled out of the business anymore if you're wrong or you just make stuff up, because there's always a revenue stream of disenfranchised, hateful people out there that just want to believe what you might be writing is true.
I don't even
And
know
as long
sometimes
as
if
you
they're
can do
hateful,
that, you
Mike.
can work.
Sometimes
You
they're
can
just
work for.
clowns.
You can
They
work
just
for
want clickbait.
Newsmax. You can work for Blaze. You can work for anybody you want to and be wrong.
Well, that's it. It's all just clickbait because there are still people out there, and I tear my hair out of this every single time. I'm now writing a column called Dirty Laundry on my website, which deals with the media and talks about a lot of these things and a lot of the factual issues of media. What destroys me all the time is those people who still believe if it's on the internet, it must be real. It's got to be true. Nobody would dare put anything fake up on the internet. They do it every day. And if you fall for it, Mike, the people out there who go, "Hey, you see what that guy did about that kid?" He said, don't worry about it. It's just a hat. You're a sucker. You're falling for it. You're just as wrong as they are. It's got to stop somewhere.
My AI is pretty good, Ed.
You like that?
Yeah. I'm not even doing this show today. It's a hologram of me. Go ahead.
Now, but let's bring up what you talked about, and you brought this story to my attention. And I think there's a piece in here that we can talk about. Sophie Cunningham has become a real star in the WNBA. And she became a star because Caitlin Clark was getting jostled about on the court. Sophie stood up for her, took a couple of calls, and basically people are talking about what a really good player is. Well, she's a good player in the first place. But in the New York Times right now, you brought this article to my attention. The New York Times, and here's the headline: "She avenged Caitlin Clark on the court, now sponsors and the right love her because she is now known in a lot of circles as the MAGA Barbie. And she answered back in that article, and I'm reading for the people who are watching here along on YouTube. I'm clearly white and from Missouri, and so I think there was a lot of assumption there. Points out she doesn't talk a lot about politics, but she does follow Candace Owens, who's a complete fraud and propagandist. She follows the Daily Wire, which is just as bad as Fox News, News Sport, OAN, and all the rest for printing out propaganda. And she gets on a lot of conservative posts. On Outkick, which is a conservative sports site, they said, she's hot. She posts A-plus Instagram content. She's good. She's edgy. She might be a big R Republican, which certainly doesn't hurt. Mike, they don't give a damn what she is as long as she looks good in tight clothing. That's all that really is. But it brings up the great point, and I want you to talk about this first of all, because if Sophie Cunningham is being identified as MAGA Barbie, that brings up a great question. If you're a fan of Sophie Cunningham and your politics are different than hers, do you immediately then stop rooting for her? Do you stop following her? Because, hey, Mike, there's a lot of people out there who say if you're following the MAGA line, you're nothing more than another propagandist for Donald Trump. So what does that do to those people who want to make her their hero, if you will, but now they know she's following the bad guy?
Yeah, we're so past. I was watching this thing on Bush and Reagan, and they were having a debate, the George H.W. in the 1980s about immigration, and how they basically said, we need to welcome these Mexicans into our country and find a way for them to become citizens because they're a viable part of our country. And yes, the people that are criminals, send them back. But oh my God, the Republican Party's gone 180 degrees on immigration in the last 40 years. So has the MAGA Party and everybody else. I would, I'm not saying I need to root for someone who has my political beliefs, but if you're following Candace Owens, I hate you. I don't want to see you hurt on the court, but I want to see you lose. I want to see you lose badly. The Indiana Fever are now America's MAGA team. Now, it doesn't hurt that the KKK was founded in Indiana. Okay, let's be clear about that. It doesn't hurt that we're at a time when some lady that's an advisor to the White House is going on Twitter saying, we need to see more white people in commercials. These are lousy people, Ed. These are not good people. It's not anything to do with being conservative. It's not anything to be doing with being family values oriented. I'm family values oriented. I don't sit there and read people that want to get rid of people that don't look like me and because they don't think like me. I don't think like that. Sophie Cunningham is a rotten human being because she follows Candace Owens. You can put that out there. I hate her.
Is it then?
I hate the Fever. In fact, I'm now rooting against Caitlin Clark's team. I love Caitlin Clark, watching her. I hate them. I hope they get.
But how far do we go, Mike? How far do we go?
I'm personally going to. I'm gonna beat them. I'm gonna beat her with her grandmother's hose. I'm gonna set her on fire, and I'm gonna put her out with Kaepernick's cleats.
You and hoses,
like metaphorically.
Man. You and your kids with the hoses, man. We got to do something about this. But it's a good point because
metaphorically,
we're such a politically divided country right now. Where either you're right, you're left, you're blue, you're red, and there's nothing that ever comes between. There's no such thing as purple anymore in this country. If you find someone who's a major sports star or an entertainer, let's say, and you know that they follow Donald Trump, they follow MAGA, they follow Candace Owens, they follow Newsmax, they follow Fox, they follow the Daily Wire, they follow Charlie Kirk, and all these other people who are out there, do you make an exception and go, well,
no.
See, I really love the way they play, but I don't like their politics. Or do you say, look, if you're doing these politics and if you're involved, you're showing me who you really are. And there's no way in hell I'm ever going to root for you again because you've shown me what's in your heart.
Ed, we're at war. We're at war, Ed. Culturally, we're at war. These people are the enemy, okay? I don't care if I have Indiana season tickets. Done. I'm done with them. This is me. This is where I'm at now. And it's the same on the other side. Do you know how many fans Bruce Springsteen lost because he criticized the president? Do you know how many people hated, thought that the Chiefs were it was a conspiracy theory that they were going to win every Super Bowl because Taylor and Travis were put together to become America's couple, and that this was a huge conspiracy theory. And Taylor endorsed Kamala Harris. Like, let's be clear, Ed. People of those ilks lost a lot of followers and fans because they are on the other side of the culture war, the right side, Ed. We have to stake our claim. We have to put our flag up. Let's forget about being neutral.
Is that right, though? I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
No, it's not right. It's awful. It's not who I want to be. It's not who a lot of people want to be. This whole climate, the fact that sports is now a prism into the ugliness of our political polarization is sad, but it's where we're at. And you talk about fighting fire with fire, the whole notion of Michelle Obama saying, they go low, we go high. No, we both go low now. That's what we do. And
well,
it's
you
sad,
have to go
but
low
it's
anymore
true.
if you think about
and
it.
If
Because
Sophie
you have
Cunningham,
to at least meet
if
them on
Sophie
their
Cunningham
level.
is,
I mean,
if
look
Sophie
at what
Cunningham is
Gavin
following,
Newsom is doing in California right now. He's got somebody out there working his social media, and if you want to talk about it, he's mocking Trump every single day. And there are those on the right who will say that doesn't make him a very good governor because he's stooping low. Well, Trump has stooped low for how long?
It's great.
And you still follow
It's great
him?
because it's satire. It's satire. He's out there being bombastic. And
Yes.
the hilarious thing is there's people on the right that think it's serious, that's who he's become. Like, you're being very ungovernor-like doing these posts. And they're thinking they don't understand that it's satire and he's mocking Trump. So, yeah, do I think Gavin Newsom it would be an ideal president? No, he's a little petty. He's a little mean-spirited. And be honest, he might have more Botox in him than any of the Kardashians. But nonetheless,
No, Mike, stop right there, young man. You have now crossed a line too far. No one has more Botox. No one has more scars than the Kardashians. Stop that, man.
That's true. That's true. Beauty is pain. But I will say this. I will, in all seriousness, I'm going to watch, I don't hate Sophie Cunningham, but if you're going to walk right into this world that has welcomed you, and it's an ugly world, and that's now your friend. It's like Draco Malfoy going over to see Voldemort at the end of Harry Potter. You find out later that Draco Malfoy actually had a lot of sympathy for Harry Potter and helped him defeat Voldemort. But at the time, Draco Malfoy was being welcomed in by this awful crowd of people that wanted to destroy the world. Well, that's Sophie Cunningham right now. She's walking right into the embracing arms of the people, the MAGA people who are sitting there at the front of Cracker Barrel saying, "Come on, Sophie, let's go have a chicken fried steak and eggs for breakfast." And she's going, "Sure, let's go." Get the hell out of here, Sophie. It's over, Sophie.
Well, let's point out, too, that she says she's from Missouri, and Missouri is one of the deepest red states in America there is, without question. But have we reached a point where it is impossible, and it's not only impossible, but it's not correct to separate politics and sports? I mean, they used to basically walk on very different sides of the street here, Mike, but have we worked at that point right now because of what the right believes the left is doing, and the left believes what the right is doing, and everybody is hating on each other, and everybody is fighting each other? Have we reached a point where don't separate the two? If you root for somebody who's a fan of Gavin Newsom and you're a Republican, you need to basically walk away from them because that's the wrong thing to do. Or if you're a fan of
Well,
Sophie Cunningham and she identifies with MAGA, do you walk away from her because there's a problem with what she does? Or do we just root for people
well,
anymore? I mean, where does it go now?
Well, it puts me in a bind because I really like watching Caitlin Clark and that team moves the ball well. And I do like people that stand up for their teammates. If she had left it at that, she didn't have to reject. She didn't have to reject MAGA America. She didn't have to say, I'm the most liberal person in the world, and my friends are all in Black Lives Matters. And she didn't, and Antifa is portrayed wrongly. I don't like militancy on either side. I really don't. I really don't. But the reason Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk and people out
Oh,
there like that are, they're out there like that is they do like militancy. They don't like the fact that you can love who you can love. They don't like the fact that science is getting in the way of religion. They don't like the fact that America has become a progressive, forward, enlightened country. They when they say, make America great again, they're not talking the 2000s, the 90s. They're talking 1950s before Jim Crow laws. These are either covertly or overtly racist bigots. They don't like people who happen to be gay. They don't like people who happen to be trans. The whole thing, it's hate the sinner, hate the sin, love the sinner. Well, I say, hate the bigotry, love the bigot. You guys are bigots. And if you're Sophie Cunningham, and you're going to and if your social media thread involves a woman who's put her main focus, Candace Owens' main focus right now is calling the French president's wife a man,
a man.
essentially, that transitioned into a woman, and she's being sued, and it'll probably, it won't even be the end of her career because someone will bankroll her after this, after she's forced to pay all these libel fees. But the bottom line is, this is who she follows. So, look, I can only judge a book by what I see, and I'm not going to judge by its cover. The inside of Sophie Cunningham's book involves Candace Owens and these people, these right wing influencers they're just, it's not even another side of this coin. It's just meanness. It's being a bad person. So guess what? Sophie Cunningham's a bad person to me. I get it, Ed. Let me finish. I get it. We're at a time when it doesn't matter who we follow, musically, entertainment wise, teams. We're at a time where we have to decide, do we like the song so much that we still listen to it, even though we have major reservations about the singer? And guess what? I don't anymore. When I watched Leaving Neverland, I had defended Michael
I knew you were going
Jackson.
to bring up Michael Jackson, and it's a perfect example. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you know what? To this day, I still like the Jackson Five. I'll listen to Michael Jackson tunes up until Off the Wall, maybe Thriller. But after the first reports of him sexually abusing young men, and anybody who doesn't think Michael Jackson's a pedophile is either related to him, works for the family, or is in so much denial
Or is brain
that
dead.
that they just can't let the great Michael Jackson be thought of as someone who went after young boys, and he did. That's the truth. So all I got to say about that is, yeah, if I have enough reservations about the singer, I don't want to hear the song
Well,
anymore.
let me bring this up because there's always an argument when it comes down to sports and athletes about character. So many times when an athlete breaks a law or when something happens or when they do something despicable or they make a mistake, we're always talking about the character of the athlete. We want our athletes to score points. We want them to be a great player. We want to root for them. But at the same time, there's a portion of us that want that player to have great character. We can go to the steroid issue in Major League Baseball, where we can say that, hey, Mark McGwire might be a really nice guy, but guess what? He was a steroid user. So that's part of his character. You can talk about, and how much did we talk about character when it came down to even Pete Rose and so many others? Pete Rose was the greatest player that baseball maybe ever fostered. but his character was suspect because he bet on the game. He broke the rules. It comes down again to the fact that here we are in 2025, and have we reached that point where we now have to say
Yes.
character is the biggest thing? And if that character doesn't mix, but I'm going to stop myself, Mike, because even when I say that, there are people going to react to this who are going to say, I don't give a shit about his political. I don't care what she roots for. As long as
Yeah,
she
I
scores
know.
35 points a game, gets 17 rebounds, 8 assists, and my team wins, I'm going to be a happy guy. Because guess what? I'm getting all I'm supposed to be getting from it is sports. I don't care about character. Have we reached the point where we now have to care about character in our athletes? And if we're going to talk about character in our athletes, then we have to split politics. You've got to put it in there, and you've got to make a decision. If you're a Democrat, you can't stand with anybody who follows MAGA. If you're a MAGA Republican, you can't stand with anybody who follows the liberal Democrats. End of story, and you've got to divorce yourself from them. Mike, that's a battle which you and I can sit here and fight. We are never going to win that one, because you're still going to have people who will be out there saying that, well, if Tom Brady was still playing, hey, Tom played golf with the president. He really likes the president. Yeah, but guess what? He won my parlay on Sunday by helping him beat the New York Jets again. And just making an excuse. But that's what people will do, Mike. They don't give a shit about character, but we
I
should.
mean,
That's supposed to be part of an athlete's makeup.
well, that's, you just hit on something. You know, the Olympics have taken a lot of beatings over the years, but anybody who's covered Olympics front and center, and I've been fortunate to cover 7 of them for the New York Times and the Washington Post, is you really, for all the cliches that we talk about covering sports, and you really see them all, the Olympics. If you don't cry at the Olympics as a reporter once, you're not human. You see somebody that came from nowhere win some gold medal that you never heard of before, and they have their, there are disposable heroes. They come every 4 years. You get emotionally moved. There are things that the world comes together in Olympics like few other places, and it's literally a non-segregated place of worship for almost humanity as much as sports. And the guy who founded the modern Olympics, Pierre Coubertin, Baron Coubertin from France, when he founded the modern Olympics, he wrote this incredible treatise on the fact that sports not only begets muscles, sports, the English schoolboy version of the old sports thing, begets moral muscles. You become a better person when you do sports, and that was part of the whole notion of, why were sports invented? To put a halt to war. We had games so we didn't have to fight each other in real combat. We could fight each other on the field, and it could be this healthy form of competition. Well, guess what? They don't get moral muscles anymore. People wouldn't put syringes and pills into their bodies. They wouldn't do all these awful things off the field that some people do. The bottom line is I just, unless you are a bettor, which I think if you're a big degenerate gambler, you really get into that, I think you could
If you're
fairly
a
say it
degenerate
doesn't
gambler,
matter.
you don't care what anybody's politics is. You
No,
don't care
you
if
don't.
they're
No,
racist,
no.
sexist. You don't care. As long as they win a
Right.
game for you, and as long as I cash, I'm happy. You know that to be true.
Right. And if you're like, and let's say, okay, your kids like Sophie Cunningham and you're a season ticket holder at the Indiana Fever, are you going to go to your kid and go, you can't like, so no, you're not going to. And the fact that she keeps her political views, I guess, on her Twitter pages and her social media and behind the scenes, is probably healthy for her
Well, she doesn't
economically
really
right
come
now.
out, and that's the point that Sophie was making. She doesn't really come out and she's in your face about her politics, but she doesn't deny it. She hasn't said anything negative about being called the MAGA Barbie. She apparently is living on that right now, or at least to a point. And she also, when you start looking at her X account, you can see that she follows people who are the hardcore far-right MAGA Republicans. That's got to say something about character.
Well, exactly. Look, she's Riley Gaines in training. The former swimmer that finished 5th to Leah Thompson, the trans swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania, and she finished 5th to her. Leah Thompson's records have been stripped. I agree with it, to be honest. I think boys and girls can compete all they want until puberty. Once you're biologically changed, I believe that you should be in an open division. If you're going to identify as another sex, and then you put all your times together with that person, that's fine. I don't think that they shouldn't compete at all, that people that are trans shouldn't compete at all, but I don't think their results should be next to biological woman. That's me. But but all that said, Sophie Cunningham is a role player. She's a role player in the WNBA, which doesn't pay enough anyway. It should, but it doesn't pay enough. At some point, she's going to have to retire. She's going to become a conservative influencer.
She has a huge social media following. Huge.
Yeah, she just got a huge media following. Her Twitter numbers went up tenfold when she became like the defender of the white pigtailed girl from Iowa.
It still comes down to that question of character and whether or
Do you
not
wait? Let me ask you that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you: can you put aside your personal beliefs in whether you like a person to root for your team?
In other words, you're talking about political beliefs?
Yeah. I mean, not like Deshaun Watson, where he's basically groped and sexually assaulted all his massage therapists that work with him. But I'm saying somebody that has strong political beliefs the other way. If they play for your team, say for instance the Florida Panthers, or a team that
Boston
you
Bruins.
really like watching, enjoy, can you just put that aside and say, you know what? Keith Kachuk, he's a wild, crazy Trumpian, but damn it, he plays some good hockey.
Well, I'm actually a Boston Bruins fan, so that's okay. You can just make sure. I got to make sure to point that out there.
There you go. That's a perfect example right there, because Tim Thomas, the goalie on the Stanley Cup team, of course, as you know, would not go to the White House to be honored by Barack Obama with the team.
Correct.
In 2010.
I cannot, in all good conscience, I root for a team, but if a player takes a stance that is what I consider to be socially corrupt and socially immoral and supports a message of hate, I can't root for them without any question whatsoever. I can't do it because I know what's in their heart. I know who they are. I know what they stand for. And while at the same time, while I look at Sophie Cunningham, and she's a really good player, I'm not a big WNBA fan to begin with, but I don't really, when I look at her now, I'm going to think twice. I'm going to say that in her heart and in her soul, she supports a level of racism in this country, a level of sexism in this country, a level of hate in this country. So go about your business, do what you want to do, but I wash my hands and walk away. I
Amen. I'm with you. I'm with you. And I'm sure there are people on the other side that do the exact same thing. Some people I'm sure were passionate Warrior fans or passionate LeBron fans, and once they came out against President Trump or refused to participate in White House ceremonies honoring their teams after championships, I am positive that there are a lot of people who walked away from those people because of their stances, and that's fine. They're fine to do that. I'm with you. I can't.
If I'm rooting for somebody who supports a thinking process that science is bad, who supports over 250,000 people being put out of work, who supports basically taking away the basic research of the CDC that helps to stop disease, who is getting involved in the process of destroying this country by turning our lands over to oil drillers, if that's what you believe in, and if those are the people you follow, I don't follow you. I can't do it. And for the record, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm an independent. I've been an independent since I was maybe 25. So I'll look for the good side, but it's not there. Not in that case. And you lose me immediately. Moving on. It is time to once and for all hammer down on Stephen A. Smith. I have absolutely, at this point, the clown show has got to stop sooner or later. When Alabama loses to Florida State, Stephen A., of course, he's right front and center on ESPN because he's the chief rabble-rouser who gets the most clicks. They stick him out there, and Stephen A. does his usual and goes off without knowing one damn thing about college football. Zero.
Who would ever thought that somebody would have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to call out Nick Saban? They would never. They would never. But they did it with, why? Because Kalen DeBoer is coaching them. Because that finesse style that you was enjoying in the Pac-12 once upon a time, out there in the Pacific Northwest, it ain't Alabama. You in Alabama. You in the South. You in the country. You got to get them big brothers, meat, potatoes, eating hogs for breakfast. That's what you need. But they don't have that in Alabama. So what the days of Alabama with Nick Saban are gone unless one thing happens. Somehow, some way, you convince that man to come off that fantastic show that is College Football Game Day and return to save Alabama. That's about it. Because I don't see anything happening with Kalen DeBoer. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
What Stephen A. Smith knows about college football would fit on the head of a pin and you would have room left for the Grand Canyon. The man is nothing more than a mustachioed, sometimes with a little rubber nose that he's got, put it on here sometime, put on the freaking shoes. He's a clown show. And there's a reason why. I get it why people want to watch him. Look, I was watching you on the monitor. You were laughing the whole time that he was saying it. So was I. He's a clown. The reason why people like Stephen A. Smith is because he says outrageous shit and just lets it go and screams and hollers. And just because he hollers, people like him. That's the whole point. Sometimes that's all you want is somebody who reeks and hollers and screams and basically makes the knuckleheads of the world feel happy because all of a sudden you got somebody screaming at you. You like it. You want to be abused. That's the whole point of it now. And you want somebody to go ahead and throw comedy at you because that's all Stephen A. Smith is. He's bad comedy. I know a ton of comics. I know about 400 comics that I've worked with in my lifetime. They're all funnier than you, and some of them are dead.
Now, can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Ed Berliner, you will not ever talk. According to my sources, you, pesto and marinara, you have not said the truth about me. No, look, it's a peripheral friendship with Stephen A. I've known him for 25, 30 years. I don't think we've talked in 10, but we text every now and then. I congratulated him on a $100 million contract. I'm not sure why, because I don't think he deserved it, but nobody thinks he deserved it.
Somebody's going to be coming here right now, Mike, when we do this.
Somebody's got to make that money.
Say, look, Stephen A. Smith is out there with a big fat contract. He's making 3,000 times more than you guys are, and he's got more followers than you guys. So how can you go after him? Easy. We're smart, we're intelligent, we also have class, and we know how to talk about sports. Stephen A. knows bupkis about college football.
Wow,
zero.
Steve, he doesn't, and it's an easy take. Nick Saban, resurrect him from the grave, get him back. Kalen DeBoer's a lousy coach. Fine, whatever. It's a take. It's not that we're full of a world of hot takers now. I was more comically amused by the Paul Feinbaum, who looks like your 7th grade history professor. I'm amazed that he's got a show. Like, God bless him. I know he knows more about Southeast Conference football than anybody, probably even Bear Bryant in his grave. And same with on the right side I think it was Cam Newton in some ridiculous getup, like it was Mardi Gras or something. But that's what he wears now. I have no idea what Cam
Newton has on his head. I don't even want.
Yeah, it was just like he's out to lunch, and so to me it's funny. It's sports. It's not journalism. It's entertainment. They're in a different lane, Ed, than us. I mean, if we wanted to really do the hokey stuff and dress up every day, we could.
I don't want to do it.
And we could start shouting, If we started shouting that white people are better and that all immigrants should go away, we would get sponsors quickly. The Blaze might even pick us up as a show. That's how sick this world is right now. So what I guess I'm saying is he's appealing to somebody. Stephen A. realized something, and I'm not going to give him a total pass. I like anybody, like when you talk about the clicks in the last segment and the awful people that put out these memes. Well, okay, who lets them put out the memes? Who got rid of their fact checkers? Mark Zuckerberg, like big tech, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook at Apple, Elon Musk at X. These people have let absolute lies flourish over their platforms. They don't care about the facts. If they had real fact checkers in there, we might have a better society. We don't. So now you're in a point where the people at ESPN, they had real competent reporters and people that were really thoughtful and good, some of whom happen to be black, like David Aldridge. David Aldridge doesn't work at ESPN anymore. Why? Because he wasn't loud. He wasn't the caricature of a loud black man like Stephen A is.
Look,
And
it's
Stephen A
very
works
simple.
at it. Stephen A works his ass off, by the way. I don't have any problem with him. I have a problem with the system that made. I have a problem with the system that made Stephen A. Not him. He's only taking advantage. He's wearing the suit. He's wearing the suit right now and getting the money. That's it.
Stephen A. Smith is an entertainer. That's all he is.
Right.
If you go to
he's
Stephen A.
in a
Smith
different
and you
lane.
expect to get sports and you want to discuss sports intelligently, you're not going to get it. As I said before, what the man knows about sports, and specifically about college football, would fit on the head of a pin and you would have room left for the Grand Canyon. He just doesn't know that much. It's just because he's not a college football guy. He's a basketball guy. I'm going to say this about Stephen A. He knows his basketball well, but he's an entertainer. He's not the kind of guy.
Right.
But that's what he is. He's the kind of guy who comes out, throws the hot takes out there, and that's all you have him for. If people missed it, ESPN stands for Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. The first word in ESPN is entertainment. It always has been. And now more than ever before, they're turning entertaining. Stephen A., yeah, I'll watch him just to be entertained. Listen to him on sports and believe anything he tells me about what's going on in sports? Not a clue. Not a sausage.
Well, I'm with you. And I like the guy. I hope that he continues to do well. I'm not happy with the system that made him because it. But here's the flip side. When him talking about Kalen DeBoer is whatever. It's okay. Fire the guy. He's not going to work out as the coach at Alabama. Fine, that's a great take. So that's a harmless take.
It's a stupid
what gets
take.
me is
it doesn't make any sense. It's just feeding into the idiots who want him fired and the social media clowns. That's all it does.
Right, but okay, but that to me is almost harmless because there was a time when a Mike Lupica in New York had power and wrote a column that a coach should be fired, and sometimes he was. A manager was fired. That doesn't happen anymore. Sports columnists, sports opinion makers on television don't have the clout or the respect to actually get someone fired anymore.
Because
it might be taken into someone's account if you
entertainers.
Right, exactly. It might be taken into account if you write a real damaging piece about them as a person and you do some reporting, but it's not taken into account anymore. Kent Babb, a friend of mine from the Washington Post, wrote this incredibly damaging profile about Kim Mulkey, the coach at LSU, and just what a lousy human being she is. She's still at LSU. They're still paying her. They don't care. Because people will look past a lot. My problem is when people like Bill Maher or Jon Stewart, even at Comedy Central, bring on Stephen A. and ask him to start talking about life and politics, and Stephen A. saying he's going to run for president.
I don't care.
That to me is bothersome only because you can say things that are really damaging. I mean, they ask Bill Maher asked him about Pete Buttigieg, and why hasn't Pete Buttigieg moved the black community? And why hasn't he really? Why haven't people gotten behind him? He's got all these credentials, and Stephen A. said he doesn't move us. He doesn't move us. Well, one, African-American people in this country are not a monolithic people. Stephen A. does not speak for black Americans in this country.
Indeed.
And I feel sorry for anybody that does that because no one comes to us and go, hey, what do you think of Gavin Newsom? You think he'll be a good white American president? Nobody does that to us. Only people of color are asked why you guys don't like this person. I think that's awful. It's awful in itself. The fact that you would just assume and Stephen A. shouldn't be speaking for him. There are a lot of people in this country.
Mike, in the same breath, if Stephen A. wants to
Can I finish?
Politics,
Can I finish,
let
Ed?
him go ahead. He has every right that anybody else has. But to look at him
Right,
as some
but
sort
let
of
me
an
finish.
expert is laughable because he's not. He's a
Yeah, but let me
sports guy.
finish.
Look, there's an old saying in television that always used to be, stay in your lane. I mean, there was a time when basically
Yeah,
sports
exactly.
people never talked about anything else. Now we do because it's the
Yeah.
way the broadcast society has gone. But there is some, stay in your lane, Stephen A.
Well,
Talk Smith,
I get
talk
that.
sports,
I get
talk
that. And
smack, do whatever you want. But stay out of everything else because I don't know a lot of
Yeah,
people who
but,
basically think that you know what you're talking about.
if you're going to stay, you could say the same about us. Stay in your lane. We've talked diddly about sports, real sports today. But the bottom line is,
But I'm happy to stay out
if
of
you're going
politics.
to have, if you're going to have a take like Stephen A. did, he goes, he doesn't move us. He doesn't move us. And he goes, now I could get into the other things, but I'm not going to. What he's saying, the dog whistle there is, Pete Buttigieg is gay. He's married to a gay man. They have a family that they're very loving and supporting with. A lot of African American people in this come from the black church. The black church meaning the old Southern Baptist church. They still believe Leviticus. They believe in the literal Leviticus. Man cannot lay with man. Like, let's say it for what it is. There's a lot of people, a lot of black people in this country don't like Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. That is messed up. That's fucked up. And until that changes, we will not have any progress in this country.
And we're going to go ahead and leave it on that because it's well said. You want to go ahead and catch us? Don't forget, on YouTube at The Fastest Show in Sports. Audio podcast, wherever you get your podcast. The podcast is on Podbean, which is where we are housed. But then again, it is syndicated to all the other podcasts, so you can go ahead and get it. Please subscribe, pass it on, be part of it. Let everybody know that you too are part of The Fastest Show in Sports. I think there's an outside chance we may have to talk a little NFL next week. Maybe. Maybe.
Oh, man. Really? Like football? I guess I got to turn on you're saying I have to turn on a game and subscribe to Roger Goodell's concussion-proof league. Okay, sure.
It would be nice just to at least.
Well, you know what? Leaving this on a nice note, I'll send it to you. And these are the kind of things we should also put on the show. There's this whatever, what else, Facebook Reels, where this older kid, probably a teenager, my son's age, probably 14, catches Josh Allen coming off the practice field. And he looks and he goes, hey, Josh, I got to ask you something. And he gets closer and he goes, my sister is in that crowd in a bucket hat. She's crying. She loves you so much. Can you just go up to her? And he's like, he looks at me and he goes, yeah, bucket hat, right? And he goes, yeah. Oh my God. This little girl, like, I don't know, she must be 10 or 8 or something. She pulls it and she's like, has a sign. And like Josh Allen's signing these things real quickly and he gets to her and he just looks at her and she's like, and he gives her a hug. Oh my, Ed, it's the greatest thing in sports.
The best part of sports.
It's the greatest thing in sports. And that's the greatest big brother of all time.
Let's see a little more of that.
So I'm rooting for the Bills. I'm rooting for the Bills to win it all.
Oddly enough, I think there's a big part of America that is rooting for the Bills. We'll have to talk about that next week. Yeah. Don't forget, watch us, listen to us, be part of the show. For Mike Wise, I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us. Rock on, true believers. Until next time, see ya!
That's all, folks.